Morning, fish keepers. I hope we're all well and dandy. It's Friday. We've done it. We've made it. Let's be happy. With coffee. That's delicious. It's freshly made and it's new beans from a bean that I haven't tried before. And I'm really, really happy with it. All right, cool. We've got John waiting in the wings. So we'll push some buttons, bring him on. Morning, champ.
Good morning. How are you, Cam?
Good, thank you. Very, very good.
Good. Happy
Look
Friday.
at me rustling around like I'm unorganized. I'm
just
organized.
pretending you're a news presenter.
Yeah, I'm somewhat organized for a change, which is kind of cool. Before we kick off too heavily, I received some feedback the other day. Not positive feedback, but feedback nonetheless.
Okay.
Basically mentioning that throughout our episodes we have a lot of audio issues and things like that. So if people that do watch or listen do have that occur, please send us a message. Like I don't know if I don't know sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And same with any sort of feedback. If anyone's got some feedback on what we're doing and how we're doing it, the guests we're speaking to and all that sort of stuff, it'll be really good. So it just sort of helps us refine what we're doing. The more feedback we get from people, the more we can basically hone into all the good stuff and improve things that I wasn't aware of in that kind of scenario. So if anybody has some feedback, please send us a message, email, private message, what have you. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. We'll make it work, and we'll try and improve. And same with if there's people you've got that you want to see particular guests and things like that, let us know, and we'll see what we can do for you. So yeah, that's what I've got so far. And my camera is annoying me a little bit. There we go. Cool.
Right. I know there was the audio last week was extra bad. There was a feedback somewhere between the phones, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was atrocious last week. It just it is what it is. Sometimes those things happen. So yeah, I think since I've had the upgrade of the internet in here, everything's been a lot better than what it was. So that's all positive. It's happy there. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. So I've got some stuff today. First and foremost, if you're not following us on TikTok, you won't know about this. But if you are following us on TikTok, you'll know all about this. The air manifold out the back has been all but completed. Excuse me for sniffling. Spent Tuesday, I think it was, cut it all up, plumbed it all back in together. So we've increased or added the other tanks that were sitting there with no air to them. So now everything out the back is running on the one air manifold, which is quite exciting. So I'm happy with that. So that brings us to 77, 78 aquariums all running on that one air pump out the back. There's still another stand that'll be filled with a few more, and actually another 2 stands will be filled with a few more. So it should lead us towards the 85 mark. I'm very curious to know how much capacity that this air pump can handle, how many tanks that it can take. But I think the way it's laid out, I think we'll get to around about 85, just the way we've got everything sitting for the time being. So we'll see how that goes. So, yeah.
Good. Progress anyway.
Yeah. So, of course, that means that we've got more capacity to hold fish, more capacity for fish to come in and out of the building and through the in-house quarantine and all that sort of scenario. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's exciting and it's a good time.
Yeah. Drink some coffee.
Always drinking coffee. Which today means I get to move some more fish around as well. So because we've put another 12 tanks set up all ready to rock and roll, I can move some fish about today. So moving some guppies and some corridors. I've been trying to work out how to keep stuff for optimum numbers to breed from that aren't going to eat each other, cohabitate together to try and breed from. Ideally, I'd have a single tank per species, but at the moment that's just not quite going to work. So I'm just trying to work out which way things are going to hold best together, not eat each other, not crossbreed and all that type of scenario. So I've got at least 2 tanks sorted out today, which is good, which of course means that's 2 or 3 more tanks out of the quarantine setup that we've got that become open again, which means we can get another few more species of fish in, and we're just continuing to roll back and through the shop again. So yeah, so that's where that's at.
Good times.
Give me 3 seconds.
1, 2, 3. You're back in the room.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. New fish are due to be released. Wedding anniversary, congratulations. New fish are due to be released mid next week. So we've got green fire tetras, gold white cloud mount minnows, glow lights, gold fire agazizii epistogrammas, Bosmani rainbows, the red cap guppies, and pygmy corridors, and also some harlequin raspora as well. So I think the green fires, the gold fire and the Bosmani might already be spoken for. Yet to be totally confirmed, but I think they're spoken for. But the harlequin rasporas, I'm thinking it's Saf's birthday early next week, and he's been asking about harlequin raspora for quite a while. So I'm thinking I might end up giving them to him for a birthday present, as opposed to selling them. So harlequins might not make it into the shop still as well. So we'll see how we go. But yeah,
cool.
That's that. Yeah,
that's that.
Yeah. So yeah, since the harlequin's been here, Saf's been all about them. He's been pretty keen on them. Before they were only asked multiple times about them, so I think he's pretty keen on a group of harlequins. So yeah, they may not. They might end up being a wee birthday present for him. So we'll see how we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, damn sniffle.
Yeah. How cold is it just now then?
What's that, sorry?
What's the weather like now? Is it causing all sorts of problems still, or is it chilled out a bit?
It's not too bad. Like, I didn't have frost in my car this morning. It's grey and miserable and overcast, which is making it a bit colder, but it's not cold, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit chilly, yeah. And I haven't turned my heater on, so that might be what's going on now. So,
yes. Well, it could be this new coffee bean that you're trying out.
The magical new coffee bean.
Yeah, you might be allergic to it.
Oh, I don't know. I've been drinking it all week, so I'm not sure.
Maybe not then.
Once again, Monday morning I had no coffee. It was not a good start to the week.
New mug?
This one, the Aquarium Project one.
Yeah.
No, I've had it for a wee while. I may or may not have done my dishes yesterday, so I may or may not have very many clean coffee mugs at the moment. Cool. So next on my list is the Aquarium Awards. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. John?
Yes, we mentioned this already. The Aquarium Awards is the opportunity for people like the members of the Fish Room family to vote for 7 different categories. Categories such as plant care products, fish care products, filters, heaters, fish food, that kind of stuff. And really get behind the brand or the product that you think is the best. We want to see who you guys think is the best, obviously. Voting opens up. When did we decide?
I think we're looking at the 1st
of September, wasn't it?
3rd of September, yeah.
3rd of September,
Monday,
yeah.
Sorry, it'll be Monday the 4th of September here.
Sorry,
Monday the 4th of September is what we're looking at.
And we're going to run it for a couple of weeks?
Yep. 2 weeks of voting, so yeah.
And
obviously be the most important vote you make this year. Ignore that there's an election in New Zealand in about 3 months' time. This vote is it might be the second most important vote because we've still got Fish Wars to come as well. So either way, there's some important voting coming up.
Yeah, it's voting season, guys. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's the first one that we've done, and hopefully, if it's a success, we'll be doing it every year.
That's the plan.
So yeah, look out for that post coming. The post will have a link which will take you to a separate page. And they'll have everything. It's just a form, about 8 different pages you go through. It should take you about 5 minutes tops to place your vote. And at the end of it, everybody that does vote goes into a draw for a prize, which we'll get to sooner. Not right now, but that'll get announced just before you guys vote. Or will we announce that afterwards, where we'll just keep it a complete surprise?
I don't know. We haven't discussed this enough yet to work this one out yet. And that's the reason why we're not announcing what prize we've got, because we haven't worked out what it's going to be. But there will be a prize. We'll make it worth everybody's while for, taking out 5 minutes of your time. There'll be a decent prize for it. It is going to be open. It's predominantly for New Zealand people because we're from New Zealand. It will be absolutely opened up to anybody who wants to participate from around the world. But the prize will be only for New Zealand because sending stuff out of New Zealand is horrifically expensive. And there's all the technical legal stuff that go with it as well. You might not be allowed some of the products in the prize and all that kind of stuff. So, definitely can vote from around the world. But the prizes will be for New Zealand, and it is New Zealand based. So it's New Zealand based brands and products. There's some stuff that we don't have. That you might go, whoa, why haven't you included that? Because we basically don't have those products here in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all things, did we stick to purely things that you sell in the shop?
No, we opened it up. Well, I've opened it up to some products that we don't have as well.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a bit of time looking at other retailers' websites and wholesalers' websites and that kind of stuff. So, as an example, I don't carry Nutrifin foods, but we've got that on the voting form as well. So tried to all encompass everything that is available here. So I might have missed some things, and I'm sorry if I have, but I tried to get everything that we have here all in one go. So it is also freshwater only, not saltwater marine stuff. So we've got a section for retailers, so we've missed retailers like Eastern Marine because they specialize in only carry saltwater, and we don't have things like Red Sea and Hana and stuff like that, which are predominantly or only saltwater brands. So it is purely freshwater stuff, but that's where we're at with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so
good.
Just a bit of fun, just a bit of things, so we understand what people want, what people like, give a bit of recognition to the people that are doing really good stuff in the industry for everybody and that kind of thing. So
absolutely,
if you follow Practical Fish Keeper magazine, Fish Keeping, blatantly ripped it off, and I'm happy to say that we've ripped it off. So it works pretty well for them. So it's not a carbon copy, but it is pretty similar. So that's cool, and I'm okay with that. So.
Yeah, what they're going to do? They're far enough away from you anyway.
Here's a cough coming. I had a few people come in. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Thomas. How is everybody going? Good morning, Cameron. How you doing, pal? So I had a wee wacky idea at the end of last week's Finatics Friday Coffee Date. I considered cutting all of our streams and just doing this solely on YouTube. As the people that are clearly watching on Facebook can see, I didn't go ahead with that. So again, just ask me a bit of feedback. You happy with us just streaming on Facebook and YouTube? Just want it on YouTube only? Do you want it Facebook, YouTube, and a whole bunch of Facebook pages? Like, for me to stream from one page or one site to 12 is literally just clicking a button all the way along both. So it doesn't really worry me too much. So that's where we're kind of sitting. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Mm-hmm.
And Cameron believes we need to do a live audio stream, which I'm not quite sure how we'd make that work. So there's some people in the chat who have alluded to a magical fish, and then Thomas has come out and told us of the jag. So yesterday when I came into work, if you follow us on TikTok, you'll know all about this by now. Yesterday when I came into work, there was a random fish box. Like, what on earth is going on? I haven't ordered any fish recently, let alone a tiny small box of fish. I have no clue what's going on. I then looked down and saw that the title was for Cam Inbred, so I very quickly realised it was clearly someone who listens to the podcast, because Cameron and Ryan have decided that I'm an inbred, and that's what they call me. So my detective work was coming along nicely. We then got a little bit further down the track and opened it up and found out it was a a very, very nice looking jaguar cichlid, and that it came from somewhere in the South Island. So I became a detective, and I slowly but surely put some pieces together and worked out where it had come from. So Thomas sent me a very nice, I believe, male jaguar cichlid. So of all the big fish that are around, jags are one that I do really, really enjoy. I think they're a really beautiful fish. So he's just chilling by himself in a 2-foot tank for the time being, and now I've got to work out what I'm going to do with him. So thank you for that, Thomas. Again, if you want to see the jag, it's on our most recent TikTok video. It's a very nice looking fish. So yeah, that's happy days. And Cam claims that he's got nothing to do with it, but I don't believe him.
He's always got something to do with it.
He's plotting away. He's involved. Yeah. Yeah, and Charlie, you enjoying the invisible fish? I'm glad that they're transported to you really comfortably and really easily. You're not a man until you own a jag. I think this might be my 3rd jag or 4th jag that I've owned. So does that make me 4 times manly? Cool. Right. So furthering on from what I have on my list. Again, if you're following us on TikTok, you would see that we're putting together a wee cycling test. So there is a raging debate on what if cycling products work. There's a raging debate on which is the best way to cycle an aquarium, time-wise, safety-wise, and all that kind of stuff. Everyone has their own methods. Everyone does their own thing. So while we've been upgrading, we've got 10 totally brand new tanks, brand new sponge filters. Thought, why not do a few tests? So next week, or maybe the week after, once I get the last few bits and pieces that I need, we're going to be testing out a few different types. So we're going to be using a pre-cycled sponge filter. We're going to squeeze some filter muck into the water. We're going to use the prawn method, which is my preferred method. We're going to use stability because that's the bacteria product that we carry. We don't carry any other ones. And we're going to be using some ammonia as well. So we're going to set them all up, 2 tanks of each one of them. We'll do a water test Monday, Wednesday, Friday, see how everything's tracking, to try and work out a few bits and pieces and see which works. So that'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to record it, try and get it on all platforms so it sort of stays permanent on TikTok, YouTube, and probably Facebook Reels, but we'll just see how that trucks along. I haven't quite worked out that side of it yet, just the method that we're going to apply. So Helen's brought up a good point here, and I know you brought up that same point on the 3 Idiots podcast. We're going to a control tank. So what would be considered a control tank in this scenario? How could we do a control tank for this? One that's already cycled, one that's
do a standard nothing time cycled,
no additives. So without any additives, how is an aquarium going to cycle? Because it needs a source of ammonia to run the filter to run. So I understand having a control. I get the concept, but how do you do this one? Like, so we all know if we just put a filter on a tank, nothing's going to happen. So how do we roll with that a little bit further?
Just dropping a fish in, a hardy species.
So a fish in cycle.
Yeah, I think. Well, let's take it back. What's the most traditional method of doing it before chemicals and things? You probably find it was just a hardy fish that they popped in, wasn't it?
I would argue that the concept of cycling wasn't around because the knowledge wasn't there. So it's just put a fish in, put them in water, maybe put a filter on, away you go.
I've done it with just a bit of fish food in it.
Yeah, so that's where the prawn is. So we're doing, that's a similar thing with prawn.
Yeah.
I use. Yep, cool. So that's all part of it. We've got 2 tanks sorted out that have got to use sponge filter. So as we side from that, I'm taking 2 sponges out of a established one and moving it into the brand new tank. So that'll be that one there. And then the 2 brand new sponges are going to go into the established aquarium. So I'm going to be able to test it as well and seeing if you've got this well-seasoned aquarium that's all mucky and gross already, putting fresh sponge filters on that, see if that breaks any cycle per se, adds any ammonia, all that type of thing. So that's already kind of working. So would that be considered the control aquariums if that's what we're doing, because they were already working? And I don't have enough aquariums to do urine. It had crossed my mind. It was on the list. Equally, I think that is a method that very little people use. So trying to keep it into the options of what is more commonly used, and I don't think a lot of people pee into their aquariums anymore. So that's just trying to base on everything around that. So yeah.
Is there a cycle in the saltwater side of things using vodka? Or am I thinking something different?
That I'm unaware of.
Hmm.
I know there is uses for vodka in saltwater aquariums, but I don't know if it's for cycling. Yeah. Yeah. So all of the tanks have got the same. All of them have got all the same size. They've all got the same brand new filter, sponge filter, and they're exactly the same ones that are already well and truly cycled and established from the tanks we're using as well. So everything is like for like. Everything is identical. Cam and/or Ryan brought up a really good point about temperature. I was going to run them totally unheated. This way, they're all absolutely identical. We're not relying on a potential heater going up or down, so to speak. It just sticks to whatever the air temperature is, but then they burst that bubble, basically saying that if we're doing this for tropical aquariums, and the most likely ways that people cycle, doing it to a cold water aquarium isn't going to give us the information that we're trying to prove. So I'll be heating them up as well, which is why it's going to take just a little bit longer to start this test, because I've got to make sure I've got all the same heaters, or at least all heaters that are doing to temperature that we need it to do as well. So taking into account the heaters are going to be the only used product that are in this test. So I'm hoping that they're dry enough that it won't make too much of a difference. It will be algae spores and all that kind of scenario on it. So I'm not sure whether I need to buy a whole bunch of brand new heaters, so everything is brand new, or whether we leave it the way it is and just let it roll its thing. So yeah.
Do you need the heaters, or are the heaters being used so that they all maintain the same?
Yeah. So like I said, like with Cam brought up a point, like it will cycle in cold water, like there's no issues with that, and it'll probably just take a little bit longer, but that's voiding what we're trying to achieve with tropical fish.
Yeah,
cycling a tropical aquarium, keeping everything the same. So yeah, vodka is good. Get drunk while you wait 6 weeks.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, Ryan's not a fan of using the prawn method, but I think Ryan's wrong, so that's okay. Yeah. So he makes a good point. Please watch your language, Ryan. This is a family-friendly something or other. But yeah, so someone else made a really good point up here somewhere. Where did we go? Do we believe that chlorine and chloramine do significantly reduce the amount of bacteria at multiple water systems? They don't sterilize the water. My theory is that good bacteria are present in the tap. I would suspect there probably is good bacteria in the tap. I don't think that would be wrong. I think there probably is good bacteria. Probably bad bacteria, which is what the chlorine and chloramine is used for, to try and remove that bad bacteria. In the 90s, we used to do fission cycles with powdered bacteria in northern Wisconsin, normally do with 6 zebra and 2 cores. Hate to burst your bubble, unless you do this with a whole test a number of times, get the same results each time, it's still not proof. Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but I'm also not claiming this to be a scientific experiment or research paper by any stretch of the imagination. Much like a lot of my theories, we're all sort of dealing with hobbyist grade stuff, and this is sort of hobbyist grade information, I suppose. So that's why we're doing two tanks of everything, just to roll it through close enough's good enough type of scenario, and basically doing it on the Three Idiots motto or Cam's motto of YOLO, so we just make it work and we'll make it work. So, and same like this with bacteria spores floating around in the air. It's not stuff that I'm worried about too much. It's just this is going to give us just a basic, brief look of what works, what doesn't work.
I think looking at it as the hobby as a whole, putting a sturdy fish in with no chemical addition is probably your most common and standard procedure. Obviously, that takes longer than using, added bacteria. But if you're wanting to compare bacterial products for the sake of this, I think the control should be as an chemical bacteria or additive bacteria as an alternative to a fish cycle where you're feeding with no added bacteria.
Yeah, I agree and disagree on that. Like, I think we might have had a conversation before. I've definitely had conversations with other people. So, like, different parts of the world do fish keeping completely differently. And I think over the last several years, New Zealand has changed from a lot of fish in-cycling to different methods, as in using pre-cycled media or using liquid bacteria stuff. Like, we've changed from doing that fish in method.
Yeah, I think most people have now, to be honest. Yeah.
But it applies to all sorts of facets in fish keeping. Like, every country's approach is totally different to how it's kind of done, and so trying to base this as much around New Zealand practices, I guess, is probably the way of doing it.
I know, as soon as I discovered things like Prodibio, which was the glass field, I was setting up a brand new aquarium, Planted Aquarium, on a YouTube channel one night, and then the next night I would be adding fish, or 4 hours later I would be adding fish and having no fatalities at all. As soon as the water was up to temperature,
so I'm also a massive anti-believer of fish in cycle. That's not the words I'm trying to say. I don't think it's the best method. I don't think it's the safest method. I just don't like it. So the least that I can encourage that, the better. And again, this is, although it's very fast and loose as far as a test goes, it's definitely not scientific. There's going to be so much things we've missed, and anyone with any sort of science background will go, "You're an idiot. What have you done that for?" It's about what can be replicated, what a general hobbyist would be doing in this situation when setting up a new tank, if that kind of thing makes sense. Yeah. So that's kind of where that works. So I have no doubt that every single one of these methods will work fine. I think the doubt will come in when whose ever eyes looks at the results and whatever it is that they want to be, whatever they want to be looking at, if that makes sense. So, that's where that, I think, will change it. So I suspect they'll all work. They'll all have different time frames of doing it. They'll all produce a cycled filter for an aquarium in whatever time frame. It just depends on who's looking at the tests to work, or the results to work out which way they want to see them, of what worked and what hasn't worked, if that makes sense. So, so that's where that is at. And I am allowed to be wrong, Ryan. You're right, but so far I am 2 from 2 from our experiments that both you and Cam have shot me down on. So at the moment, I'm always right and you are always wrong. Don't forget that.
And you hide behind your coffee.
But thanks for joining us, Ryan. I appreciate it. So so that's where that's going. I'm quite looking forward to it. Should be a good time. And this is exactly why I don't like fish in cycles. You're correct; they do manage to get through so often. Then question how much damage has done in the long term. I got 2 years out of this guppy. You forget that you cycled the tank with said guppy, and it should have lived for 4 years. I totally agree with you on that. on that point, which is why I don't like fish in cycles. It's just not my jam for that reason. I don't think it's the best for the animal. So yeah. Next on my list, Aquarium Frenzy podcast came out yesterday because I couldn't quite get my time and date right because I was working on American times, but that's okay. Yeah. Auckland Cam is still probably looking for his windshield wipers. You're right. So the Aquarium Frenzy podcast came out yesterday, so it was one that we had Alexander Williamson from with us. Sorry, that was a really, really good session, interview, conversation, coffee date. Not sure what you want to call it. It was great. There was so much information that was shared. It was absolutely fantastic. So I would encourage you to jump on a podcast and re-listen to it, or of course you can find the video of it on YouTube, just under the Finatics Friday Coffee Date section. If you are listening to it on the podcast, I think he was about 10 minutes or so late, so you might want to just skip through the gaff of me and John talking about random junk for 10 or 15 minutes, whatever it was, before he gets on. But yeah, that was a good time. I really enjoyed that coffee date we had there.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I've got on my list is that the Three Idiots podcast that was released this Sunday was also a fairly good one. We talk about misunderstood fish, or fish that have got a bit of a cliche aligned with them. One that's coming off the top of my head is that Cam brought up that Oscars are big ugly brutes that want to terrorize everything and beat the junk out of everything, but in actual fact they're kind of more like water puppies and are just sulky little moody girls. So yeah, that's what that one was. Quite a good topic. I think Cam might have flipped off at some point because he seems to be doing that recently. So that's a good time, but it was a very good topic, and I think everyone brought up some really good points and some really good things about various different species of fish. And Ryan, we've already spoken about the jag. If you were here, I don't know, on time, you would have known all about that. Right, so that's all I've got on my list, or as I close my diary up. John, did you come up with a topic that we were going to talk about today?
No. I didn't.
Awesome.
I know. I've been thinking, but no.
Cool. Okay, so normally once I've finished talking about all my points that I had to talk about, John will say, hey, I've got this awesome topic that we can talk about for the rest of the time. But clearly he hasn't. So if anybody has any topics that they would like to talk about, we can absolutely talk about them. I think
I'm looking at my fish just now, right, and I'm looking at two fish that I massively regret buying. Can you see them?
I can't quite see them now. Oh,
no,
yeah.
they're just
small.
Yeah.
Small,
well, is it a fish that you've ever bought or brought home from the shop from your own aquarium, impulse buy style, that you just instantly regret?
Instantly regret.
No, I've kept fish for 30 odd years now, and I'm always an advocate for don't buy, impulse purchases. And then I went in and I thought I've kept them before. Well, I did it. And then I walked in, put them in, and I thought, why did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Erratas might be one because they're psychopaths.
Yeah.
They look cool, though.
Mm-hmm.
A really cool looking fish. Thomas is a jag. Does it happen to be the jag that I've got in my tank now? I think at some point we might have to a conversation or maybe a competition of naming the jag.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to work out what I'm going to do with it, and then potentially we can have a wee naming competition. We'll see how we go. So that might be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So need to work out what I'm going to do with it long term, because it is a cool fish and I do like them. What am I going to do with it? What size aquarium am I going to put it in? Is it going to be a fish that has a permanent place in the shop, or is it a fish that I'm going to take home, or is it going to sit out the back and become a pet? We'll have to work with him out.
It's got to be a mascot now with all this hype.
Look at this popularity of jags. Popularity of
month,
jags in New Zealand is going to fly through the roof.
Yeah.
They're a cool fish. They're just big and a little bit psychotic sometimes. So,
that's what makes them cool, though.
I think what makes them cool is when they get the right light on them and the side of them get that really oily, patterny look to them, almost like a velvet, crushed velvet.
Natural sunlight's good for it. You know, if you catch it at the right time in the morning and if you've got natural sun coming in, it just it hits differently.
Yeah, they're a cool fish. So, need to work out if it's going to be kept by itself forever or if I set up a bit of a tank of a couple of bigger fish. So, yeah.
Could it not go in beside your clown loach tank?
Beside?
Yeah. Or in the clown loach tank?
No. It goes away from all of it. So, yeah. On that note, now that out the back with the upgrade is all but done, I can start chugging along with that again. So, that's back on the top of the agenda pretty soon. So, everything's here except for the overflow, which I'm still struggling to find. So once I figure that out, then we're basically away laughing. It's going to be sitting right there. Probably going to put a hole through the wall, put the sump on the other side to try and make it a bit quieter in here, which then means that the frontoses have got to move because that tank is in the way where the sump's going to sit, which means I've got to put them in that tank behind me, which means I've got to square that off a little bit because it's a little bit on the piss because the floor's not straight, so there's a little bit of wiggling around, but it shouldn't be too bad. So, yeah. So that won't be too far away now that the upgrade out the back is all but completed. So, yeah. Who are some famous people that have driven Jaguar cars?
James Bond.
Should we call him James? Or we could call it Bond, and then I could say, because I don't like James Bond for the record, I could say it's named after Shane Bond.
Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah. Or we could call it something silly like Boris. We'll work it out. We'll see how we go. 007? Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Oh, no, I thought I had something there, but I don't.
You don't?
No, I was trying to think of what the big cat was called in the Jungle Book, maybe. But it's not. That was a different kind of cat altogether.
With keyhole rams, I'm assuming you mean cherry barbs, and angels keep the platy population under control, I would likely think yes, they will. Angels very predatorial. Keyholes get big enough to begin to pick off fry, and I'd say rams probably would as well, depending on the size of them. So I would suspect that they will be able to keep them under control. So yeah, I could name the Jag after one of my favourite rugby league players. We could call it Simon Mannering. You don't know who that is, do you?
I don't know who that is, no, but I get the feeling you're trying to antagonise somebody in the chat right now.
Oh, not at all. No.
Oh, all right, okay. I recognise the name, but probably just from your post on Facebook.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll work something out. He's here now. Keep him forever.
Mm-hmm.
Try and think of something wacky and zany to go with a Jaguar cichlid, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, well, I think getting somebody to pick, putting out there and having like a little vote thing.
Yeah. Rochelle said maybe put up a vote thing for a week or something like that. So
yeah,
maybe I'll try and take a really good photo of it and get a little bit of a hype story going around it. So yeah, I think I might, for the time being, I've got a dual Rio 180 maybe sitting at home. It's the 4-foot 220 litre aquarium. It's got absolutely nothing in it, so I might get all that cycled up and rocking and rolling and put them in there for the time being until I can work out what I'm going to do out the back here. So, yeah. The kids will be happy that they don't have to keep looking for the invisible fish. So that might be an option for sure. Cool. Okay, well, if we don't have a topic, maybe we can leave it with that. Yeah. I can tell you that our guest coming up next week, You have click the buttons. We have a gentleman named Brian Miller. He works for Seachem
Yes.
over in America. I believe he is a traveling
He is.
rep.
Yeah, he travels to a lot of the trade shows.
Yeah.
I think I met him. I was there at a trade show when he was standing across from me. He was at Seachem and I was at Flipper, actually.
Yeah.
But I never got the chance to talk to him.
Cool.
He was with that Louis Navarro guy from Mexico.
Cool.
So yeah, he travels all over. Yeah. Puts on a good show.
So if you've got any questions you'd like to know or ask about Seachem or the Seachem range, please feel free to ask us, and we'll put it into a list of things we're going to talk to him about. So I'm looking forward to that. He seems like a pretty welcoming, nice gentleman. Travels the world, has a lot of experience in fish keeping and stuff like that. So it should be good. So that is our next guest coming up. And then after that, we've got our special guest in between, which will be on a Monday, New Zealand time, where we're speaking to Tom Barr, which is pretty magnificent. I'm really looking forward to that. So for those that don't know who Tom Barr is, I don't really like using the word guru, but he is an absolute guru when it comes to growing both aquatic plants and outdoor plants. His whole life is basically growing plants, and he's just...
His bonsai collection is just out of this world. Yeah. He does a lot of work for government agricultural things as well. So I think he just lives and breathes agriculture and plants and everything like that.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to speaking to him. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and it's absolutely exciting that he's agreed to come on. I think that's phenomenally fantastic. So I'm stoked with that. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it work for a normal Friday with his work schedule and stuff like that, which is why we've got it happening on the 11th. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be going to be really, really good. So if you're into growing aquatic plants, this is definitely one that you need to be tuned in for. So that's about 3 weeks away from here. So that'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm going to have a few questions for him anyway.
Cool. Yep. So that's the next couple of weeks we've got coming up. So we're next couple of guests, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be amazing. Ryan. Cool. Okay. So if we've got nothing else, because Ryan's just hanging around abusing us because he thinks plants are dumb. I thought you were the plant growing master. You're just jealous that someone is growing plants better than you now, with your Java moss and your Anubias that are floating around in your tanks. Cool. Okay, well then, shall we do it? Shall we call it a day?
Yes. It's time to enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Yeah.
And your weekend.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Hope you have a good one. Happy fish keeping. Catch you later.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy your weekend.